How's everybody doing? We're back after some technical difficulties. So this will be episode 11, part 2.
Dos, uno, dos.
The show must go on.
That it must. That it must. Hopefully, it'll be smooth sailing from here.
So, what do you think about this upcoming Lakers Nuggets series? Because me personally, I think the Nuggets might surprise some people.
They've surprised some people already, man. I was talking with a friend of mine before in the first round, and I said, man, I wish the media would give this matchup that we're seeing between the Nuggets and the Jazz a lot more attention. We saw Donovan Mitchell and Jamal Murray give us two of the best playoff performances we've seen, but because it's Utah and Denver, no one really was paying attention to it mostly, with all the other storylines going into it. They certainly have gone on a run and doing what they've done, making NBA history, the first team to come back down 3-1 in back-to-back postseason series in the same postseason. Man, that's crazy.
And then you think about too. You talked about that first series before you move on. There was only two guys that have ever put up 50 in the playoffs. One of them played in Philly. The other happened to play somewhere in the Midwest Chicago area.
Yes, some crazy town.
So, we got to see two guys do it in the same year, in the same playoffs, in the same series.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, that is, and I think that's the thing people don't realize about why it is so important to try and catch all these games, even if they're not your team, because you don't know when you're going to see NBA history. You never know. There's plenty of nights I've put the TV on, like tonight. Put the TV on, and the Yankees did all that crazy stuff. You never know what's going to happen. But I'm sorry. Go ahead. I just wanted to bring that up.
No, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. I mean, that's why they say, hey, you got to watch. You got to watch the games because you never know what you're going to see. But when you look at the Denver Nuggets, I'm a bit worried about them. I have all the confidence in the world that my Lakers are going to prevail, but I do have some worry about them. The fact that Jamal Murray has been insanely hot the way that he's been, Jokic is able to do what he can, and unlike a lot of teams in the playoffs, the Nuggets are one of the rare ones who can match us for size. They got Jokic, Plumlee, Bobo, Millsap. So they have even deployed a big lineup where it was like three centers and two power forwards out there. So they're not afraid to go ahead and test themselves and try different lineups. And then you throw in guys like Gary Harris and Michael Porter Jr. and what he's doing. And the fact that they've shown themselves that they can bounce back from 3-1 against two very good teams. A team that features a budding star in Donovan Mitchell, a defensive player of the year in Rudy Gobert. You're taking on another team that does it. They got two guys who have won Sixth Man of the Year, a Most Improved Player of the Year, a Defensive Player of the Year, and a defending champion. Yeah, and we did it against that. And their head coach, was handed the title because he just happened to be on the team with a lot of really good players. So mentally, they're prepared. The energy that they have, they're going to bring it every night. I certainly am worried that the Lakers, if they can't keep up this level of shooting that they've been able to do from beyond the arc, they can't keep that up. We might have a couple games where we're going to be scratching our heads saying, what happened?
Now, like we always talk about matchups, I think the Jokic matchup isn't as big of a deal in this game, and I'm not putting anything against Jokic. I love Jokic. I think he is great. The Joker. All that stuff. Phenomenal. One of the best passing big men. It's got that deep fade from, or deep hook, from real far out. The matchup, though, to me that I'm worried about for your Lakers is Jamal Murray. And here's why. He's been unstoppable. Yes. But to be unstoppable against that Clipper team with a lot of small guys that are really, Patrick Beverley's a gnat. He just, gets in your face and makes a whole bunch of noise and annoys you.
Talk a whole lot of trash, but can't back it up.
Exactly. Kawhi Leonard and but he's still frustrating. Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, though, they play really good defense, lockdown defense. So the fact that he was still able to do what he did against that Clippers team, I don't know if anybody could stop him. I think it's the whole you can only hope to contain him. Now, Jokic, on the other hand, I think you guys have more of a chance of stopping Jokic, doubling him up with two real big guys, where the Clippers were not able to do that. And he was one-on-one a lot with Gobert, and he's got some weight on him. So I really think that it's going to come down to matchups. I think you guys have the better bench for sure. And I think Murray is going to be the biggest thing you guys are going to have to stop. But then it goes back to, how did they stop LeBron when he gets on his, I'm mad and I want to win the game?
Well, you're not really going to stop a great offensive player. That's never, unless they just really shit the bed. You look at the history of the league, that just doesn't happen. Like you said, you can hold to contain them, sure. I would say the best bet is almost in a way employ the same strategy you did against the Houston Rockets. And against the Portland Trailblazers, you got to run their shooters out the 3-point line. You got to run guys like Harris, Porter, etc. You got to run them off the 3-point line. You can't let them get comfortable. One of the mishaps that I think might come into play is Jokic. Not only can he shoot, but he can pass very well, and that's something that obviously we didn't have to worry about with the Rockets. And then Nurkic, or I think that's how you say his name, for the Blazers. He's a good offensive threat, but he's not as big of a threat as far as shooting and passing like Jokic is. So that's going to be a bit of a problem. But we saw throughout the season when playing the Nuggets, Anthony Davis basically had his way with them and their big guys. So he's going to be able to keep the pressure on from there. Like you said, what happens when LeBron just says, okay, I'm the best player on the court, I'm just going to take over. Rondo's playing it the way that he's playing. And because Rondo's out there, it allows guys like KCP, Caruso, if we put in Deion Waiters, it allows those guys to have responsibility, but not as much because he's taking a bulk of it as well. Not just from a defensive standpoint, but a leadership standpoint, and then also just handling and distributing the ball as well, so that those guys could then maybe focus a bit more on guarding them. I would almost say, and this may sound crazy, you might want to employ the same defensive strategy that the Pistons employed on my Lakers in 2004. Guard Murray and Jokic one-on-one. You do what you can, but you guard them one-on-one. But you lock everybody else up. Because unless those guys are both going to drop 60 apiece, two guys scoring 20, 30, 40 points ain't going to beat you. So you guard those guys one-on-one, and then you lock everyone else up. You double them. You force them to be the ones that have to beat you and them to make plays. Now we've seen Michael Porter step his game up. Harris can get some points. Can they continue it? We shall see. That's one strategy I would say maybe the Lakers should try.
And I think you're right about that because you lock the other guys up. Now the other thing, like you just said too, a lot of people are sleeping on Michael Porter Jr. I mean, I didn't even bring him into that equation, but he's going to be that sleeper piece where it's Kuzma for you guys.
Yep.
And I think that's really what it's going to come down to is points for LeBron, points for Murray, points for Kuzma, points for Porter, points for Jokic, points for Davis. And how those three guys on each team play in total, I think is going to be the underlying factor of who's going to win this series. And as we've seen, the Nuggets are never out of it. So You definitely can't, like we talked about last night, you can't get into that mindset where you're like, oh, this is over. We got this. And I don't think the Lakers are that team. I know LeBron is not that kind of player. He takes everybody seriously and wants to beat everybody. And, those guys pick up what he's doing. So to me, I think if the Nuggets bench can outplay the Lakers bench, but I believe the Lakers do have a better bench, but the Nuggets bench can outplay the Lakers bench. It goes back to my 2011 when I predicted the Mavericks to beat the Heat. I thought they had a better bench. 3 guys can't beat 10.
You know what? That's fair. But for guys like you, for Joe especially, I'm gonna need you guys to go back and screenshot some of these predictions y'all claim that y'all be having, man, because nothing.
No, I actually won money on this. I legitimately won money on this in an office pool.
And look, that's totally fine, and you don't do it as often. Joe is ruthlessly known for doing it, for calling everything and whatnot. Oh, in the 2005 dunk contest, I actually predicted that this was going to happen.
Nate Robinson.
Yeah, like I predicted. Like, come on, Joe, come on.
Hey, but you got to admit, though, you got to give me credit because Joe even called me on it the other night when we were in that meeting and he was talking about writing the article for the Laker game. And I said, just write it for the Nuggets. Don't even worry about it. They're going to win the game. I texted Joe right after the game and I was like, hey, what do you get when you smash a giant gold brick? He didn't text me back for a little bit, and I messaged him. I said, "You get the Nuggets."
Yeah, no, that's so true. That's so true. But it's it's definitely something that you have to you got to take into account because Michael Porter Jr. surprised everybody, man. He sat out that time with the back injury, and once again,
what happened to Bobo? By the way, he came out in those first 3 games, and this dude looked like the next Kareem, and then all of a sudden he disappeared.
I do not know, man. I don't know if he sustained an injury and they're playing it extremely cautious or what have you. I don't know. Maybe he did something, behind the scenes that really put him in the doghouse with the team and the coaching staff. But yeah, you do not see him out there. It could also be depending on who they're playing. It's like, we don't want to jeopardize the chemistry that we have, because some teams really do shrink their rotations. And maybe he just missed a cut as, hey, unless Jokic gets hurt or is in foul trouble early and we can't use him, then we'll go to you. But otherwise, no, it's these 7 or 8 guys that I'm rolling with, and he just so happens to miss it. I don't know, but like you said, he came out looking like, okay, this dude is going to be a problem. Mm-hmm. Now that I'm not playing him, who knows? Or maybe they were saving him for when they were Lakers. And they said, hey, we're going to surprise you.
Ain't got no video on him.
Yeah. We give you guys just a little example of what he can do. Then they're going to deploy him on us. He's going to average 35 points, 15 rebounds, 12 assists, and 7 blocks.
13 blocks, yeah. That quad double.
Yeah, we're going to know that. He's going to be like, what the hell was that?
I'm waiting for Boston to do that with Taco. I'm just waiting for them to be like, all right, Miami, you want to see something? Boom. Statue of Liberty, get out there.
Yeah, seriously.
Did you hear Kyle Lowry what he said after that game when Bam hit that, or not Bam, OG Anunoby hit that crazy shot in the corner against the Celtics? He goes, they had a 7'12" guy guard me on the line.
Basically, or 7'13". Yeah,
just put a hoop in front of you, like here, throw it around this.
That's really it. That's really it. And you know what? I honestly do hope that Bobo and Taco could have decent careers and they could play for a good while, man. Because I know when you're that big, it is not only is it awkward, but your body is more susceptible to injuries and just health issues. I really do hope that those guys can have good careers and they don't just become. It's a bit unfair, but hey, rightfully so. I hope they don't just become a meme. Well, now it's a meme. It used to be a poster, but now it's a meme like Sean Bradley was, where realistically, you really never saw any good highlights from Sean Bradley. All of them was him getting dunked on. Yao Ming was really one of the later tall guys who you can say, no, that dude legit could play. Some of the older guys did, but it seemed like down the line, a lot of them was just there because they was tall. Yao Ming comes along and like, no, I could play. These 2 guys look like they could play as well, so I just hope they can stay healthy and have pretty fruitful careers because, hey, with their size and their names, they are marketable.
Yes, and the other thing to me that's important, or not, it is important, exactly what you said, but I think there already is a template for that in the NBA. Boban.
Yeah.
The style of minutes Boban gets, where it's a ton of shooters on the floor, and it's like, get the rock.
Yeah.
Give it back to the shooter, get the rock. You do that, you have Tatum and Kemba and Marcus and Jalen, and then put Taco on the floor. I mean, they say Tatum's 6'8" or what BS. My man's very close to 7 foot. He's 6'10", 6'11" all day. And it's like KD. They're like, yeah, he's 6'9". Okay, yeah, he's 7 foot, bro.
He's standing taller than guys you got listed at 7 foot.
That was the one that killed me. It was when they released that Olympic photo and they're like, Kevin Durant, 6'9", DeAndre Jordan, 6'10", Dwight Howard, 6'10", Kevin Durant's an inch taller than both of them. It's like
hey, wait a minute, man. Are y'all not wearing shoes? Is that
who's working the tape measure? Is there a chimp working the tape measure? Like,
but they were saying, from what I read, Kevin Durant and his people didn't want him listed at 7 foot because he was scared that coaches were going to put him at power forward or something. It's like,
and that's what they did with Tatum. Look at it. They moved him to the power forward where he was a small forward. I mean, they move him around, but to me, that kid needs to. I mean, I don't care where he plays; he's going to score. But I think he needs to be at the power forward, and I think that's the same thing with Kristaps Porzingis down in Dallas. They need to just keep him at the power. Don't put him at center. Well, he doesn't need to be at center.
He got to hit the weight room a little bit, man, because
if he put on the weight, think about this. If he put on the weight Giannis put on, basically just take Giannis and make him shoot like Porzingis. That's the flip, except now he's 4 inches taller.
Scary.
That's nuts. That's what I'm saying. If Kevin Durant, Kristaps Porzingis, and Jason Tatum bulked up the way Giannis did, the way those three guys can shoot, they'd be unstoppable. You're talking about a build like LeBron and Giannis, where they're just these big, stacked, athletic dudes. You're not stopping that.
No, you're not. And you know what? We'll see. But you look at, like I said again, you look at someone like Porzingis. He hasn't been in the NBA, that long. He's been in long enough where he could have been putting on some size. It's not like Giannis has been in the league, 12 years working on this. So for Porzingis, it's really no excuses for him to not get in better shape and put a little bit more on. Hopefully Luka does something similar as well, because as big as he is, it does look like his body needs to be reworked so that his conditioning and then also his injuries could maybe come a little bit fewer and far between if he's in better shape. So we'll see how it goes and whatnot as far as that particular aspect. But, like you said, with someone like Tatum, either way, he's going to be effective. But then I can't help but just think, we, the Lakers, at drafting Jason Tatum, but we took Lonzo Ball. And then think about this.
Danny Ainge finessed the shit out of the NBA. He's like, no, you guys can have that pick. They were like,
and
don't take Tatum.
we could have drafted Kristaps Porzingis, but we took D'Angelo Russell. That one I'm not too
nobody knew about Porzingis.
Yeah, I'm not too heartbroken over, because with players from the international circuit, it's very hard to determine how they're going to turn out. We did need a guard. D'Angelo was one of the best, so I'm not too heartbroken over that. But we could have Jason Tatum. Man. Jason Tatum with LeBron James. And at the time, Kobe was still around. We know how much Tatum looks up to Kobe and how he looks after him.
Yeah, it's a heartbreaker. I understand it, my friend. I understand it, because I was a guy that personally loved Lamar Jackson and wanted him over Sam Darnold. I like Sam Darnold, don't get me wrong, but I thought Lamar Jackson would have been great in New York. Honestly, before it happened, I really, really thought Baker Mayfield would have went to the Jets. I thought the Browns were going to take Darnold, and I think Baker would have either done very well in the New York media or completely Johnny Manziel'd that shit.
No, it wouldn't have worked, because what you got to at least admit is that even though it hasn't necessarily favored them too much yet, the Cleveland Browns have done a decent job in trying to bring talent to Cleveland. They went out and got Robert Landry. They went out and got Odell. Kareem Hunt they brought in. They drafted Nick Chubb. Like, they've gone.
I don't think anybody's helped their quarterback more.
Yeah, and now they just got to get the right coach that can put it all together, work that offensive line. Whereas if you look at the Jets, they draft Sam Darnold, then they get Le'Veon Bell.
Cheap. Oh, we had the superstar guy, number 11, coming up, wide receiver, Robbie Anderson. Looked phenomenal. You know what? Let's let him walk. Oh my God, we have the best safety in football in Jamal Adams. You know what? Let's let him walk. Who else?
I mean, they brought in C.J. Mosley, sure, but then he had his season shortened. But offensively, like no disrespect, like Robbie Anderson, yeah, he was emerging, but at that, you got to think, what other wide receivers have we brought in? They went out and got Olamichi, I believe that's how you say his name, from the Raiders. It didn't work out. 1 year later, they get rid of him. So it's like, all right, well, what have you guys done to help out your quarterback? And to me, that is also just as telling for a quarterback's career, really any player, but quarterback, since it's a topic, is they got to go to the right situation where a team is properly going to build around them and not just say, hey, we drafted you, go make everyone else better. Like, no, that's not how it works.
No, and
to me, that's why I feel like Giannis, like I was saying last night, that's why I feel like Giannis might, not saying he will, but he might stay in Milwaukee because they've shown year after year, we are going to continue to build around you and bring guys in until we figure this out. So we're not being complacent. Whereas you look at someone like the Jets, it's almost like, yeah, we'll bring in like this guy and that guy, and that's it. Like, no, man.
The Jets don't like to spend money, though. That's been the problem with the Jets forever. They had the best player, and I know we talked about this before, but NFL that year ranked him number 1 player, and that's done by the players anyway. So, Darrelle Revis was the best player in the league. And it was either 08 or 09. And it was ranked the NFL's top 100. He was the number 1 player in front of Peyton Manning, all that other shit. That year that he went off and locked everybody down and got the Revis Island thing. But here's my point, is you had a guy like that you could literally go, okay, from this hash to this side of the field, just blank it out. Nothing's happening over there. So we just got to worry about this half. And you didn't want to pay him. Then Jamal Adams, you didn't want to pay him. Muhammad Wilkerson, Sheldon Richardson, Damon Harrison. I could do this for 20 minutes. Jonathan Vilma, like it drives me crazy. The people they just let go, the talent they let go. They have no intention of keeping players. No intention of building teams around stuff. They always look for. They'll let a guy like Jamal Adams go and not pay him, but bring in a guy like C.J. Mosley when you had Demario Davis and they already signed Avery Williamson and all that other stuff and pay him crazy money. It just, to me, it doesn't make sense to let young, really good talent go to bring in older talent at other positions and pay them astronomical amounts of money. It doesn't even fit the scheme.
Well,
and same thing with the offense.
Well, trust me, man, if you want to talk about sometimes ass backwards thinking, let's look at the Las Vegas Raiders, and what they've been doing. Now, it's always great to start the season with the win. But now we're going into week 2. We're taking on the Saints, Monday Night Football, home opener, even though there won't be fans there. Looks like they won't be without Michael Thomas. What I'm kind of still worried about is our defensive front, on the defensive side of the ball. We gave up, 30 points to the Carolina Panthers? Jeez, like the Carolina Panthers. And we were making Teddy Bridgewater. I mean, he was looking like money.
Teddy Bridgewater was 4-1 with the Saints, though, too.
That's true.
Got the addition of Robbie Anderson, and you're talking about best running back in the league with Christian McCaffrey. So
that's true.
Them scoring.
But again, if going 4-1 with the Saints with Sean Payton, that offense, one of the best wide receivers in the NFL, got it. Yes, you have the best running back in the NFL, but it's not like your offensive line is anything. Now, granted, as the season goes on, we might see that the Carolina Panthers actually have a good offensive line. Yeah, we might actually see, because they did bring in some free agents. So maybe it's like, okay, no, they actually got a legit squad. But then you look at their wide receiver core. Yeah, I know Robbie Anderson had that 75-yard touchdown, but I'm being honest, I wasn't really inspired watching the defense at all. It felt like I was watching some of the same stuff. Our linebackers and corners playing 25 yards off of everybody. allowing everything underneath, this whole bend but don't break attitude that we've had. None of our pass rushers seem to be able to find any footing to get after the quarterback at all and allow any consistent pressure. Now you're asking us to say, hey, take on Drew Brees, one of the best of all time, one of the least sacked quarterbacks in his NFL career. And even though he won't be without Michael Thomas, he still has other good weapons. Emmanuel Sanders, Kamar, Murray, former Raider, and Smith. I don't know, man. I'm kind of nervous that our home opener may not be the opening we was hoping for.
I do agree with you. I think if they win that game, that'll be a huge statement game for them as the Las Vegas Raiders to go 2-0, win your home opener against the Saints. It's not, some other scrub team. Not that any team in the NFL is a scrub team, really. These guys are all professionals and are good at what they do, and anybody can win on any weekend, but you know what I mean. There's a difference between playing the Seahawks, the Packers, the Pats, and,
Ravens,
the Saints and the Ravens and the Chiefs and versus about everybody else.
As opposed to playing and I'm not trying to be funny here, but as opposed to playing the Bears, the Jets, the Lions, the Browns, the Bengals, it is a different hierarchy between that. And also, and I left it out just because I was long winded, but I also want to say I'm also not inspired by the fact that it looks like John Gruden still sticks to his old ways of being very conservative with his play calling. And in today's NFL, unless you have a 30-point lead in the fourth quarter with 5 minutes left, you better not be conservative. You better be aggressive because these teams are going to be aggressive. And the problem with being conservative is these defensive coaches and players seeing all of it. They get the momentum going where they're just stopping those short runs and short passes you want to do. Your team can't get any momentum. So when you do try to go over the top, go downfield and go for a big play, they're just not as loose as they should be for it. And next thing you know, you either let them back in the game or they take the lead. And because you've been playing conservative, you aren't able to keep that momentum going to come back yourself. So I'm hoping for the best, expecting the same old.
Now, I think, this is my opinion, I really liked what John Gruden did when he got to the Raiders and kind of blew some of it up and tried to reframe it because, let's be honest, he's got a long contract. He's got the reins of the team, the whole nine. Why not? The only problem is I feel like John Gruden now is playing every game and every down, snap, everything the same way he's playing his coaching position, which is he's looking long term and he's playing it slow instead of you got nothing to lose, open the book up, use Ruggs, use these other guys, see what they could do. I mean, you know what you got. You got talent on the offense, use it. Now, the defensive stuff, obviously there's, some things there. Now, what do you think about the secondary? Because I think the secondary could use some help.
Well, the secondary definitely needs some help, but it is a unit that you have to say is very young. Jonathan Abrams coming back off injury where he missed his rookie year, so he's back out there. That dude, I love his energy, and I love the fact that he's a hammer. I just really do wish that he would do a better job in wrapping up when he tackles. I'm not big on the whole shoulder tackling. Charles Woodson, towards the end of his career, you kind of got it because he was older, but he missed a few of those and actually gave us some touchdowns. And that has been a horrible thing that you see across all of the NFL. LaMarcus Joyner, definitely we were hoping for big things from him, but it looks like they're going to try to put him, I guess, in his more natural position, or at least in a position where he thrives. So we'll see how it goes throughout the season there. And then our corners are young as well. A second-year guy in Mullen and then a rookie in Arnett. But again, I hate watching the games and seeing – I hate watching the games. You see the wide receiver, and there's no cornerback in sight on either side, whether you're looking up top or down low. And I understand with camera angles, but they're not even up on you, then backing up. They're way off you to begin with. So already all that is acceptable. And I've never been a fan of that. At least give me 5 yards, 4 yards, 6, something, man. Don't just give me 10, 15 yards because you're afraid to get beat, like you said, we have nothing to lose. Like, yes, we want to win a Super Bowl. We're not really favored to go ahead and win the Super Bowl. Let's be aggressive and go after it. The worst thing that can happen is, guess what? We lose some more games, which we've already been doing. But if we go out there and stay aggressive, blessed under fire, we're bringing it. Who knows? Maybe some things happen. Maybe some guys can perform better under pressure. But if you're trying to baby them in at the NFL level and these are your starters, bad juju, man.
Did that Ravens season, Lamar Jackson's first year, that looked like they were babying shit? There was no babying going on there. They were like, Lamar, you can do whatever the hell you want. You tell us what you want to do. Like,
yeah.
You want to throw it 70 or run 50? Go for it. But that's the thing. If you're going to do it, like you're saying, let the corner get up there. Let him play bump and run. Let him mash the guy at the line of scrimmage and see what you got. Maybe you learn, oh, wow, this guy really is good in press. Might want to play this a little more with him. Or, wow, we really got a corner. He just ran that guy down. Look at this play. And back to the confidence thing. When you're a corner and they're telling you to play off, and because you're playing off, you let up 70 yards in the game. Now, you didn't let up a touchdown, but you let up 70 yards, and that happens every game. Versus if you were playing press, you may let up only 15 or 20. And I'm not saying on top-flight receivers, obviously, but I think you have more of a chance also of finding out what you got and, again, building these guys' confidence of, yes, letting them play up a little more, let the defense blitz, and put these guys in a position one-on-one to make a play.
Yeah, and this goes back to the Nnamdi Asomugha days. I never would fall for those training camp stories that you would hear about. Oh, this guy's locking up all of our wide receivers. Okay. Do we have Michael Thomas out there? Do we have Julio Jones? Like, our wide receivers looked at it saying, hey, this is one of the best wide receiving duos in the NFL. No, it's not. So when you're telling me you're locking down our defensive guys, you're catching interceptions, who you guarding? Same thing. Oh, this guy, he's just ripping apart his routes and this and that. And he's just catching everything that's thrown his way, and he's beating the DBs. Are our DBs good? Like, if we list the DBs, how many DBs do you list before you get to any Raiders one? So to me, it's like, yes, it's good to hear those stories, but you don't want to put too much stock into it just because when the opposition isn't as good, you're going to look like a superstar. But then we see come Sundays, we're like, wait a minute. I was reading all this stuff that these guys are good, but now they look like they don't know what they're doing. No.
You make. I want to go. I want to go wake one of my roommate up real quick. We had this conversation the other day. Because like I said, he's a big Cowboys fan, and he's like, dude, oh my God, this person and that person and this, and I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, oh, they're all playing so good right now. I'm like, it's training camp. Yeah. He's like, nah, bro, but they look so good. I'm like, wait a minute, hold on. I got to stop you there. I'm like, dude, first of all, like you're saying, who were you playing against? And two, you freaking see each other every day. Listen to me. If you put Clayton Kershaw in his prime on the mound against just about anybody, he's going to strike most of them out or, get the grounder or the fly out. He's not going to give much up. If you put those same 9 guys against him every day for a week, by the end of the week, they're going to be taking him yard every third pitch. So that goes back to my point of why. And now there's another thing, and I don't know how you feel about this, but personally, I hate the preseason. I wish there wasn't a preseason. If there was, thank you. If there was a preseason, 2 games, and nobody that's been in the league more than 4 years is allowed to step on the fucking field. Like, if you've been in the league 4 years, you ain't stepped on the goddamn field. Practice squad and rookies, and I don't think high, like, number 1 pick rookies should even step on the damn field. Keep your ass off. Because, as you've seen, I don't know if you watched that Dallas game, CeeDee Lamb looked good in that first game. They didn't have no damn thing. A lot of it, Joe Burrow looked good in his first game. A lot of these young guys look good in their first games. I think the preseason hurts more than it helps. I think it puts too much emphasis on things that are not important, as just having guys that play football and are really, really good at what they do and want to be great football players, because that's the thing. You got to want to be good. You can't just be good. There's plenty of guys that were good. You got to want to be good, though, and work on it.
That preseason, it's the biggest knock you're going to get, the pushback you're going to get is, well, what about guys like Terrell Davis, Arian Foster, et cetera, who weren't drafted or low-round draft picks, made it through special teams or the preseason, and then got their opportunity. And that is totally something to take into consideration and to think about. But we're really going to have preseason games for special teamers. For every now and then, we're going to get somebody who didn't make it, and they'll actually become something. If anything else, I would say get rid of the preseason, expand your practice squad by a couple more players, and make it where, I don't know, maybe like the first 2 years, the practice squad guys can't get signed by anybody else, because you want to find out, hey, is this person good enough for what we're trying to do, and whatnot, or 18 months, whatever. Maybe have it something particularly like that. But with like you were talking about with the rookies, I think from an offensive standpoint, we're going to see a lot more rookies do better than the defensive guys. Maybe someone like Chase Young does good, but I just think offensively, just because there wasn't enough training camp, so the defenses are still trying to figure themselves out, get the calls down, the chemistry. Like I said, I help coach youth football out here. We found out today, we did a scrimmage against our 12U team. I'm with the 13U squad. We took on our 12U squad. And it was very funny because the first series or two, the first offense and the first defensive series, not going to lie, we came out flat. But it was literally our third practice in pads. Like, we had 2 practices this week with just the tops, and then today it was full pads. The first time we went full pads, top and bottom. So we've only been doing it for a couple of days, whereas other places have been doing it months, most, if not all of summer. So when you get that, you're definitely going to look a little rusty. You're going to look like, oh man, you guys just aren't getting it together. So as the season goes on, we're going to, I think in the first couple of weeks of the season, we're going to see some pretty good offensive performances, which is good for the fantasy world. But we're going to see some really good offensive performances. I don't think till mid to late season is when we're going to start seeing more and more defenses that we thought were going to be either improved or just good off top. That's when we're going to start seeing them come in, because then guys will start figuring stuff out a little bit more. But early on, I think we're going to see those offenses explode, and we're going to get some pretty good games and performances out of it.
I agree with you 100% on that. Offensively, coming into the league is a lot easier than playing defense, because you got to remember substitutions, calls, plays. There's so much stuff to have to remember and know on the fly, especially when they start going no huddle on the other side. Very difficult. But yeah, the defensive part, 100%. There's a lot of guys that come to the league and their first year are offensively just outstanding. There's not many guys that come in the league in their first year. They're like, wow, there's a handful here and there, but not as much or on the level, I feel like, of offensive players that we've seen in my lifetime.
No, I agree with that. I like the rare occasion would be maybe like a linebacker, but for that,
yeah.
But that, or a linebacker like a safety.
Like Luke Kuechly. When Luke Kuechly, you didn't know if he was playing a year 10.
Yeah, and see, I was going to say, the thing is, though, with them, when they generally come in, they already have other good defensive guys around them. So, like when Kuechly, I'm trying to think, because I know Shaq Thompson came after him. I'm trying to remember back who the Panthers had, but Kuechly was just one of those.
Thomas Davis.
Kuechly was just one of those weird guys that Thomas Davis.
Yep. Yeah.
He had Thomas Davis, but I was trying to think like who else was on the entire defense. Like
Julius Peppers, I live there, man. I could tell you most of that team.
But what I'm saying is that you see what I'm saying? You got Thomas Davis, a legit guy here at linebacker next to me. You got Julius Peppers on the line. Then you got this guy here and this guy here. Now, me, even though I'm a rookie and I was good in college, I was one of the best. It's not as much responsibility on me to be so special because I have other guys around me who are special. I could just go play now. Whereas if I go out there and I'm supposed to be the next Ray Lewis, but I ain't got no Ed Reed, I ain't got no Terrell Suggs, I ain't got no Sam Adams and Saragusa in front of me, but y'all want me to be 52, dirty birding it up, but y'all ain't giving me the same stuff around me, it's going to be a lot more difficult, you know what I'm saying? So that's where you generally will see it, is the rookies who get drafted to already good teams. That's why most of the time your rookie of the years come from guys who are picked mid to late first round, if not later, because they'll go to a better team as opposed to the guy who's picked in the top 10, top 5.
And funny to that point, Jamal Adams, the year he came in as a rookie, I felt really should have won Defensive Player of the Year, and I'm pretty sure they gave it to Derwin James, who is the other safety that year. And the only reason I think he got it over Jamal wasn't even as much as he played better, is the fact of he was on a better defense.
Yeah.
And it's not even like that Chargers defense is a great defense, but that Jets defense when Jamal Adams got there was nobody. Wilkerson was gone. Everybody was gone. There was not a single person on that damn defense when he got there. It was him.
And then see, to another point, you look at Derwin James. He's got Bosa. He's got who's the other dude on the other side?
Melvin Ingram.
You got Bosa, you got Ingram, you got the linebackers in front of you. Denzel Perriman out of Miami. I've really enjoyed him and whatnot. I know he has emerged as a star middle linebacker, but he's a solid guy there. The corners. So again, when you have the talent around you, you can shine a little bit more and going forward. And there is the rare occasions, guys like Von Miller, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, that's why you would definitely get that. But
Clowney was a guy that I thought honestly was going to be that dude. And it's funny because his first year coming in was not that guy. I think we're starting to see that guy now, though.
I don't think we're seeing that guy now at all.
That first week, he had a good game. I don't know if you watched that Titans game. Watch that Titans game. He was flying around that field. He looked phenomenal that first game. He had a bunch of sacks. I think he had 2 or 3 sacks.
In the Titans game?
I want to look it up because I know he had a good game. I watched the game and I remember saying, because even the commentators were talking about it.
Well, go ahead and look that up. But I would say, for someone like Clowney, and I do have this on my social media. To me, I always felt that he wouldn't be what everyone's hyping him up to be, simply because of 2 things. One, yes, it was a phenomenal hit you did on the Michigan running back. We really didn't hear too much about you before that, though. So the fact that you get this one and all of a sudden you're the next coming, it's like, wait a minute, were we talking about him before? No. Secondly, I also didn't like the fact, I think it was his junior or senior season at South Carolina, his final season, all season. Well, I got this shoulder injury, don't know if I'm going to play. I might sit out a little bit. Then all of a sudden, the week of the game, the coach says, well, if you don't practice, you can't play. Oh, coach, look, I'm out here. I'm feeling good. Shoulder's good to go. And then when he goes out there, he plays against North Carolina in week 1 and lays a dud. It's like, dude, you're supposed to be dominating competition like this. And he just wasn't. And then for me, just from there, I always felt like if you are supposed to be a top tier player, but there's questions about your motor, desire, how much work you're putting into it, I don't feel that you're going to be able to be anybody special at the NFL level. He's had some good moments, but overall, Clowney's been a major disappointment for what he was supposed to be coming in, hence why he's on his 3rd team.
I was very much mistaken. He did not actually get a sack in that first game. I thought he did. I apologize. He was all over the quarterback, though. He did have a bunch of pressure on him. He had 2 solo tackles, 3 totals.
And the pressures are big too. The pressures are big too because it doesn't show up in the stat box, but having those pressures also big as well, blowing up a play and forcing it one way. So I'll give him that. But yeah, to me, it might work in Tennessee because Vrabel knows him and whatnot and the talent that they have. But to me, man, Clowney's just been so. That's why I was so adamant about hopefully the Raiders not signing him because I was like, no, don't do it, man, because he is going to be a major disappointment for us if he comes here.
What about Aldon Smith to the Cowboys, not playing in how many years, and he came out flying around the other night too on the field?
Hey, man, hey, those 5 years away, and that's what is so sad is he's been gone for 5 years. Those 5 years, brother, you could have been building a Hall of Fame resume.
He would have had one.
Yeah, like you were one of the guys. Look,
it was him and Von Miller. It was who was going to be better between the two of them. They were like right here.
And considering the team, because I know he was on the Raiders, so considering where you was end up, I'm not going to say you would have had a Super Bowl ring, but you would have been like, you would have accolades, maybe a Defensive Player of the Year, sack leader for this
Pro Bowls.
What exactly? Now it's like, dude, you almost. I mean, you can, but it's almost virtually impossible for you to get back to that particular of where you could have gone. So it's sad. I'm happy that he was able to get another opportunity. Too bad another quarterback ain't get another opportunity after 4 years. But we'll see. But that was good for him. We'll see if he can continue it going forward. And again, look at the talent around him. Man, what's my boy's name from Boise State? Lee Van Esch?
Leighton Vander Esch.
Leighton Vander Esch. He gets injured. Like, dude, no. Don't tell me you're the next Sean Lee.
That's what I was saying to my roommate, too, was I was like, man, I really hope, because it's starting to feel like now 2 years in a row with these injuries, starting to feel like that whole Sean Lee thing where it's like, geez, don't, because he's exciting to watch. Yeah. He really is. The kid flies around there and just him and Jalen Smith, the two of them back there. If Vander Esch stays healthy, they got a linebacker duo for a long time over there in Dallas. Long time.
I said this on Twitter. And look, I will be very happy to admit I was very wrong on Cam Newton. I thought he was going to be a bust. But I felt that I was right on Jadeveon Clowney. But I said with the draft, the then Oakland Raiders should draft Leighton Vander Esch.
Mm-hmm.
That they should draft him. I believe we had the 10th pick, and I got a whole bunch of blowback. That's too high of a pick for him. Coming from a small school, he's not that type of guy. No, you don't do that. That just makes no sense. And don't get me wrong. Do not get me wrong. I understand as fans. None of us really know what we're talking about. If we did, we wouldn't be here. We'd be on ESPN or Fox Sports talking about it. I get it. But I said that. Well, he was pretty good. I said, guys, maybe we should take a chance on Jalen Smith a little bit early because as good as he is, somebody's going to take a chance on him earlier than a 5th, 6th round pick. No, with that injury, we got other needs to fill. We need linebackers. This is one. He misses 1 year. Okay, guys, are we going for the Super Bowl this year? No. So let's build for the future. Well, look what he's been able to do. I said we should have got Derwin James. So it's look. I'm not saying my draft process, or guys that I voted for have all been stars that worked out for other teams. No, I've gotten plenty of dubs.
But you would have hit better.
yeah. And look, I even suggested, and this is no lie. I said if we somehow do not get Khalil Mack, let's say he's off the board. I strongly felt that if we went defense, Aaron Donald or Anthony Barr would have been just as good at number 4. And all I was told was you don't take an interior lineman at number 4. When you look at what Aaron Donald has done in his career with the Rams, I take him number 1. So
2 years in a row. You can have this pick. I don't even want it.
I don't even need it. Don't even need it. Okay, just give me Aaron Donald on those arms. So it's like, man, I just hate that way of thinking. And obviously, if we're still doing this show when it comes around next year for the draft, we can talk more draft stories. But yeah, man, it's
that'll be fun because I always every year I make my own list of who I think should be taken at what spots and what I predict of trades and all that other stuff. I do it a couple nights before. And me and my roommates sit there and I leave it out and see what happens. A few years I've hit on trades of like not necessarily one year I hit on the exact team, but a few times I've just hit on a team trading up into this spot to take whoever. You know what I mean? But that's that I love that too, because it's one of those things where you like putting yourself in those shoes, and that's why doing fantasy drafts are so much, because you put yourself in the GM shoes for a second. But it's also, these guys have a hard job, man. When you're looking at that board and I like this guy, I like this guy, I like this guy, which one's going to – and then you start – I think a lot of these guys overthink it is what I'm trying to get at. They have an easy pick, and like you said, you don't take an interior lineman at this. You don't take a kicker until after round whatever. You don't – yeah, well, you know what? If your season comes down to your kicker missed freaking 5 kicks in 2 games, maybe the kicker was worth it in the 3rd or 4th round. But people don't. It's like you said, though. People want to put too much on this or that. And I've always been a big guy, too, on best player on the board.
Yes.
Unless you're... but see, here's the other thing. There's not many spots where, because what I was going to say is, unless you've got a guy like so-and-so, whoever, at whatever position, but basically, unless you're picking quarterback or center, there's not really any position on the field where you can't have another one of those guys that's that good. So the whole excuse of we got the best whatever in the league, I don't care if it's the right guard, the right tackle, the wide out, the running back, the corner, the linebacker, the defensive end, the nose tackle, the safety, you got 2. So you can have 2 of the best at that position. So that excuse goes out the window, and you got to draft best on the board, because when you look at it and this guy, you needed a running back and you took a running back, and then 4 years down the road, the guy you could have taken turns into freaking Aaron Donald. I'm not saying you guys took a running back, but what I mean is that caliber, or you pass up on some people and, leave Patrick Mahomes on the board, not knowing.
Yeah, exactly. And don't get me wrong, there's always going to be some guys who just, they surprise you. Like whether, you're like Joe and no, I saw this dude at Southern Mississippi Valley State University, and I knew he was going to be the next great guy. Unless you're that, okay?
Juco.
Yeah, exactly. Right. No, I saw it before last chance you got there. Like, okay, Joe. Okay, got it. But, unless you're like that, it's one of those cases where you say, okay, there are going to be surprises. But, and I look at it like this. I know we're still talking draft stuff, but I look at it like this. I'm going to make an overall list. The best player, regardless of position, best players, 1 through whatever, 1 through 100, 1 through whatever. Then I'm going to go by position. Who do I think the top players are at these positions? When I get to my pick, I'm going to look at 2 things. What are my biggest needs? If I need a running back, okay, here's a running back. The top running back we have listed, or the one that's available, let's say 2 running backs are gone. Our 3rd running back is on the board. Okay, got it. We're on that board. If there are other guys in front of him, I'm going with those other guys overall. Because if I get the best talent out there and I put it on the team, I can figure it out. Whereas if I'm trying to fill holes, well, what happens if this guy gets injured? Now that doesn't work out. Or what happens if I take this guy who's a better player and he outplays the guy that I already have on the contract? So it's always best to take the best talent available. But in doing that, you got to make sure you got the right people in place on how to fix it. And with someone, and I know this is a big circle, but, you look at someone like John Gruden and you say, you and Mike Mayock have done a terrific job in identifying talent through the draft and bringing guys in. Can you mold it? Can you grow it? Can you make it something special? That remains to be seen. We didn't really see that in Tampa Bay or in Oakland his first go-around. He kind of had veterans who were already established. And then with Tampa, you never really talked about any of the young guys that came in that he drafted years later, as far as like, oh yeah, this guy did, Cadillac Williams was this, or Josh Freeman was that. So even though he's got some really good talent in Las Vegas now, you do have to wonder, how are you guys going to be able to help that talent grow and mature well, with Henry Ruggs, we saw that they were using him in a variety of ways. I just hope they continue to push him down the field because then all the underneath targets and moves that becomes more open for sure. Edwards had some moments, but they were more so in the second half, and he did some good blocking. But I am curious to see how the young talent underneath him grows throughout his tenure there. Hunter Renfro, Farrell, Mad Max Crosby, etc. That'll be interesting to see.
And I do think, like you're saying, I always agreed with the way Gruden did it with blowing it up with the whole. And I think it's funny I say blowing it up, and blowing it up was basically the trading Khalil Mack.
Mm-hmm. He got rid of all of Reggie McKenzie's guys. So in a way, he did blow it up. That was the biggest blow up, but he blew it up and got rid of all of the guys McKenzie brought in.
But by doing it, you set it up where if you did it right or doing it right, in next 2 years they should be a contender or in the contention for the playoffs, the number 1 seed in the division, in your division, all that kind of stuff. But it's one of those things that you really got to draft correctly, draft whatever system you're trying to use. And the other thing is, like we were talking about earlier, I agree with you. I think Gruden needs to open the playbook up. They need to start taking some deep shots down the field, especially now that you got that kid Ruggs there. I mean, he's hard to overthrow. I watched a lot of Alabama games in the last 10 years, and that kid is one of the fastest guys I've ever seen. I mean, he is a flat-out bullet going down the field. So open it up. I mean, if you see he's one-on-one on the outside and the safety's sitting in the middle, I'm giving my man a chance.
Yeah.
Like, we're going to give him a chance. But I'm actually kind of on the same boat as you, Kalani. I got to get up really early, so
yeah,
I think I'm going to call. No, you're good. I'm right behind you.
But out there in that 100+ degree weather for 3 hours during the scrimmage, it's warmed me down. Look, I done mess around. I got some drinks next to me. I was trying to stretch beforehand, but for some reason I'm sitting here and I'm just my apology. Real quick before we call it in, though, I just want to give a shout out to Las Vegas Aces' own forward Asia Wilson becoming the WNBA's MVP. She played 22 games this season. Obviously, with COVID, the season was shortened, but she averaged 20.5 points, 48% field goal percentage, 8.5 rebounds, 2 assists, a steal with 2 blocks. The former number 1 overall pick out of South Carolina gets the MVP. So shout outs to her, Las Vegas Aces, bringing home a trophy. And that was very good for her. So I wanted to make sure I put that out there as well. And in case Derek or Hamby ever sees it.
Hey, I like that shout out. I actually saw that earlier and I screenshotted it and I saved it for tonight and I forgot about it. But I'm glad that you brought that up. That is really good because that is big, man. And that needs to be brought up about these the women basketball teams and what especially with what the Aces have been doing. I mean, they've been good, and so is she. She's obviously just won her MVP.
I do like what they're doing with the Aces as far as the type of team that they're building. It is kind of weird because you get someone like Bill Laimbeer, right, to be the head coach, and you're almost like, wait, what? The way he played and how he was, but then you also got to look at it too. Laimbeer was one of the first big men who could legit step outside and shoot the ball. Now, he may not have been the most crazy athletic dude, but he played as long as he did because he was tough on defense, not just with the hitting and knocking guys down, but tough on defense. He had the mindset of going out there and, hey, no matter what, we're going to beat you. We're better than you. When he talks about every time he went to Boston, he spit on the lucky Celtic and he'll step on it and everything. Just that mindset of, no, this is not a friendly place. I don't care what this place is. We're coming here to win. And what he's able to get out of these women and how they're playing, you got Hamby, who's a terrific player off the bench. You got Wilson doing her thing and whatnot, and then others as well. I don't have the roster in front of me. I don't want to butcher anyone's names, but they're doing a pretty good job and whatnot. And I'm glad to see the WNBA getting a lot more coverage. So we definitely got to talk about a little bit more on the show as we go forward. So you guys be tuned in for that. But I definitely want to make sure I give her a shout out because that was huge.
Absolutely, and we're gonna have to. I think all of us at franchise, once things get back to normal, are going to have to go to games, and I think a Las Vegas Aces game is going to have to be one of them. record and get some reactions and stuff because that'd be really cool. I've never been to a WNBA game. I've only been to like 3 NBA games, honestly.
Hey, man, if that's the case, man, I'm going to have to make sure I get lined up, trimmed, and slimmed up a little bit in case Mr. Derek Hamby want to do a little interview, be like, hey, girl.
Oh, my God. I can't think of his name. I'm going to ruin it. What the heck was his name from American Gangster, Denzel's character?
Oh, you from American Gangster? Are you talking about
Frank? The hell was it?
Not Frank Castle.
No, that's the Punisher.
Yeah, that's the Punisher.
Well, anyway, I was gonna say you're gonna look like Frank court seat at the fight.
Hey, I'll wear me with the hat on and like, yo, what's up? Yo, you want to sit down? Should have got better seats.
Yeah, exactly. People behind you could be like, "Who's that?"
Exactly. No. I ain't worried about people hand me. Let me know if Miss Hamby over there asks who that is. That's what I want to know.
Just give her a little tip top of the morning.
just give it that. What's up? He's
all the big wing.
Just do one time. But if I do it too much, it's gonna look like something wrong with me. And she's gonna be like, yeah, y'all better check him. So I gotta practice it. I'm a little rusty. But let's
Excuse me.
Man.
Security, can you check that guy sitting 3 down from the end? I think he's having a seizure. He's over.
Yeah. No, I'm fine. And then you ever try to tell someone you're not crazy, you sound more crazy. So I'm really no, Richie, tell him I'm fine.
Really quick before we get off here, I have a hilarious story about what you just said. I'm in the airport one time in Charlotte, and I'm going back to New York, and at the time this is probably 2005, 2006. I was into cars and street racing, let's say. So I was trying to shoot video stuff. Well, do you remember Rich Boy, the rapper?
Yeah.
Throw some D's on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sitting in the Charlotte airport, and he's in the airport. So I walk up to him, and I'm like, hey, man, can I get you to say something for my show I'm trying to make? And just like you're promoting it pretty much. So he's like, oh, you talk to my agent, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, oh, no, it's not like that. I just wanted you to get, just say something real quick. I said, don't worry about it. I appreciate it. Hope you have a good day. He was like, tells the pilot, he's like, hold on a second. He turns around. He's like, I got you. Never mind. Do it. He picked the camera up. So I'm like, get the hell out of here. I picked the camera up. He starts talking. I'm so excited, dude. Thanked him, shook his hand, the whole thing before, when that was still like a thing, people shook hands. But I go sit back down in my terminal and I open up the camera. I wasn't recording. I start flipping out in the middle of the airport. I'm like, son of a bitch, what the fuck? This is bullshit. I can't believe this crap. Kalani, not 5 minutes later, there's about 3 dudes standing on each side of me, and they're like, sir, you all right? And I'm like, yeah, bro, I'm good. I'm just a little pissed off. And they're like, sir, you mind coming with us? We could talk. I'm like, I said it fucking fine.
Well, you understand. This device, he's got a weapon. And then, it goes
Yeah,
off.
but you talk about...
It would have been fine. Me, it would have been a different story, but yeah.
See, the problem is you got to see me in person. I look very Middle Eastern. I'm very dark. I just have very good lighting on me right now. I mean, if you shut off that light a little bit, it'd probably be better. But I get hell in the airport, and I really do feel for Middle Eastern people going through the airport. I really do, honestly, because I've gotten a lot of hell for it. So is my dad, truthfully, like every time we fly. And it sucks. And I do understand the what is it? The profiling part?
It's tough, man.
The minute they hear the accent, though, and they see the tattoos, they're like, all right,
fuck this guy. Hey, I'm in here.
Yeah, he's from New York. It's all right. Get the hell out of here.
I got it, man. Let's talk about another show.
You talk about flipping out. Somebody thinking you're crazy. That was my time.
I'm sure.
But anyway, I appreciate it, Kalani.
Always, brother. Always a pleasure to be on here, man. Sorry we had technical difficulties earlier and whatnot, but hopefully next time around it'd be good to go and we'll have a smooth show all the way through.
I think we will. So to everybody that is watching, thank you very much. for tuning in to another episode of FSM After Dark. This is Richie Lupo with Kalani Lua, wishing everybody a good evening, and we will see you next time. Good night.